This is an 8-iron, and it's a dead shank.
Wow.
Way right.
Oh, takes a hop off the path.
You got to be kidding me. Very tough pitch shot right here. You got to hit it into the hill. One hop up and bite, and it's in.
Kind of like that.
I would like to welcome two-time Korn Ferry winner and the Player of the Year in 1999, also the host of Inside the Ropes on Sirius XM Radio, Carl Paulson, to the Sub 70 podcast. Pro, been looking forward to this for a while. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, man. Looking forward to this.
So, what's going on? I heard you're not playing any golf right now. You're on the IR, the injured reserve report. What's happening to the old body here, my man?
Well, I think most of it's in between the years, to be honest with you. But yeah, my back's been a little tight here and there, and just it's hot, and I played bad last time I played, so I'm just gonna take a little time here. But no, it's all good. It's all good. I've been sort of working on the game a little bit. I turned 50 in December, so I was hoping to go to Q school for the Champs Tour this year, and they've canceled that, so I'm not real sure. I'll maybe try to do some Mondays early next year and then go to Q school the following year. But, yeah, not much going on, really.
That journey is an interesting one on the Champions Tour. And so would you be able to Monday qualify, or would you have to pre-qualify to get to the Monday with your status for the years you were on the PGA Tour? Do you know where you stand on that one at this point?
Yeah, no pre-qualifier. With the number of cuts that I've made, I'm directly into the Monday qualifiers.
Where is the desire for that one? And I know like how high the quality of play still is out there. Like, do you think you can, keep doing what you're doing with media stuff and still be competitive out there? Or is it so competitive that you would almost have to say, okay, I'm committing to doing this full time to get ready to play at the level those guys still play at out there? Or do you think you could kind of balance both acts?
No, those guys are really good. Some of them have even gotten better as they've gotten older, which is crazy. But if I was going to be competitive out there and be trying to win tournaments, I would have to be doing that full time. And I like my job a lot, so I don't see that happening.
But what a fun challenge to be able to do it every now and then, right? So if you can get into the Mondays, try it 5 or 6 times a year. I mean, hell, there's nothing to lose. And it'd still be fun to kind of get that competitive juice flowing a little bit, I'd have to imagine, right? Of like, where do you still stack up against the guys you played with and all your buddies are out there. And, you look at like what Brandel did. I mean, he still had some pretty good rounds for not putting them, you always say you guys have that level of talent. It doesn't fully ever go away, right? It's not like it's me out there trying. You guys can do it still.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. When I play well, I still play really well. The problem is when I play poorly, I don't shoot even. I shoot 75 or 76, and that's the issue. When you're not consistently playing and consistently practicing and keeping on top of your game, I'll go through 4, 5, 6, 7 rounds of really good scores, and then all of a sudden I start shooting 75s, and I'm not going to go out there and practice all day every day until that's gone, and that's the difference. So there's a lot of times when I know I'm not playing all that well, and I just don't play that much when I'm in one of those little downturns. But no, I'm really looking forward to playing some champs events. I'll try to qualify for all the majors. I'll fly over and try the Senior British Open and the U.S. Open and all the ones that you can qualify. They've got 5 or 6 of them that are close enough for me to drive to try next year. So I'll definitely be working on my game a little bit more this winter to try and get it to a point where if I do play well, I can qualify. That's the key. It's just stupid to even try if you're playing well and shooting, 71. So, but no, yeah, I think it would be a whole lot of fun to go out there and compete again. I mean, it's been a long time, man.
Physically, is your body in good enough shape to handle it? If you did, let's say you went out there and won and you're exempt for that next full season, physically, I know with all the injuries you sustained on the PGA Tour, are you in pretty good shape to be able to do a season if the cards worked out that way?
I'm in the best shape that I've been in since I was in college in terms of my body, cardio and what I weigh and all of that. in terms of the body holding up to the rigors of playing week in and week out, no. I would have to play a limited schedule regardless. So it's sort of a wait and see. We're just kind of a wait and see right now. There's no rush.
Well, you're like Tiger. You just do like a Hogan season where you play like 7 events and go win 4 of them or something like that, and greatness on the Champions Tour.
I'm exactly like Tiger, except the bank account is a little different.
And minor other things as well, but we don't need to go there. But you both played the PGA Tour. We'll put it to you that way. You both played the PGA Tour.
Anytime somebody puts me in the same category or sentence with Tiger, I accept.
Well, let's look at the season so far. This has been a strange golf season, even for us on the equipment side and everything. It's like start, stop, and then golf's really busy right now. It's been like an interesting year. So from like 5,000 feet, because you're in the media covering this, what two or three things have you found like just fascinating this year, or interesting about kind of the whole season so far?
I think the thing that surprised me the most so far, and maybe it's because it's the most recent, but the recent play since we've returned from the COVID hiatus has been off the charts. I mean, guys are shooting, with the exception of the Memorial Tournament where they had that golf course playing impossible, guys are shooting 20 under every week. It's just insane to me how many people are playing each and every week. We've had 4 or 5 tournaments that have had the best field that they've ever had. The Memorial Tournament was the best field that the PGA Tour's ever had. That was a tournament run by the PGA, which is just crazy. So all of the high-profile guys are playing, and everybody's playing really well. I mean, obviously you got guys that are not playing well and missing some cuts that you would expect to play well, but as a tour, as a whole tour, they've been just, lighting it up. And it's been fun to watch.
Do you think it's a fair statement to say that the players are going lower better today than you guys were, say, 20, 25 years ago? Or do you think the equipment has made that big of a difference where you're seeing the scores go to where they are? Or do you think the guys just are, it's better information, more analytics, bigger, stronger athletes, and the equipment in the ball? Or how do you sort of see that generation split between when you were out there and what you're seeing now?
A little bit of everything. These guys work out a lot harder. They take care of their bodies a lot more. It's more of a business, kind of a business venture now. They're bigger, they're stronger, they're faster. They've got equipment our equipment, you couldn't swing as hard as these guys swing. You'd break it, number one. Number two, the sweet spots were too small. You'd need a compass and a search party if you were swinging 125 miles an hour with the clubs that we played with. I was a high swing speed guy when I was on tour. I was in the 117 range, and with that equipment that we had, much more than that, and there was kind of a diminishing return. So the equipment has allowed the players to swing faster, but the players have taken that to a new level with their physical shape, what they do to keep in shape, what they're eating. They're a lot bigger, they're a lot taller, they're a lot younger now too as well. So I think it's a combination of everything. I think it'd be fun as hell to watch those guys play a tournament with our equipment, though.
Well, wouldn't that be interesting? Because I'm grew up with the same equipment you basically grew up with as well. And I still can't swing an 8-iron that hard because I still it's not in my DNA, right? Like you had to kind of flight it in there because it would just go off the map, right? And I miss it. I've talked about this on the podcast. I miss at some level a Corey Pavin being able to compete and carving 5 irons in from 174 and hitting all these crazy shots, and he could still at the end of the day compete against what would be a big hitter in that day, Dan Pohl or something like that, right? To me, it's gotten, I get it. I mean, it's one-dimensional, and that's kind of what the hand those players have been dealt. So, like, if you look at what Bryson's doing, it kind of makes sense. I'd love to hear your comments on that, but I do miss finesse a little bit in the game versus just, you go to a Korn Ferry event, watch those guys, and it's like 7,300-yard golf courses are just literally pitch and putts. Like, literally who's best from 90 yards and in and putting 8-footers that week.
It's amazing. I played a little bit in 2011, trying to come back, and I was playing my medical out, and I was playing a Korn Ferry Tour event out in California, and I was playing with gosh, I can't even remember the kid's name. I mean, he hasn't done anything. And it was 297. There was this little finger of water that came out in the middle of the fairway, and it went about 3/4 of the way. It was only about 10 yards wide, and then it just kind of went back in. It was sort of like a coffin bunker, but it was a hazard. I guess they're called penalty areas now, but that's another thing that's hard for me to change. And so I hit a drive, kind of just eased off a drive because the ball was rolling, and it rolled up to, I hit it 285 or something. I'm 10 yards short of the water. It's perfect. And this guy I'm playing with got a 2-iron out or something like that, or a 3-iron, some kind of driving iron. He was just not very comfortable with it. And he looked at his caddy and he said, "How far is it over the water?" And the caddy goes, "It's only 312. He goes, "Oh, well, here, take this. Give me the driver." Drives it over the water, and he's got 79 yards in, and I'm hitting a 185-yard shot in there. And I was like, yeah, I think it's time to find somebody that's willing to give me a microphone.
Yeah, right. Like it's, we were out at a Corn Ferry event, was it 2 years ago, and we got to play a couple holes with Nick Hardy and Jane out there for doing some media stuff. It was like a 440-yard hole that just 445 or something that pinches in so much. So he took the conservative route, which would have been driving iron off the tee to about 150, once again, a utility club, and like a pitching wedge.
Sure.
445-yard hole was literally a flip pitching wedge from like a $150, little downwind, in a 295-yard utility club. And Jay and I look at each other like, I'm hitting like driver, 5-iron and hitting it good.
Sure.
It's just like the power those guys have. The modern young player, like I heard a good analogy watching, golf this weekend. I think Davis Love III said it, where they're long and really long. There is no medium length guys hardly of the youth movement coming out anymore. I don't see it, at least. It's great to see guys like Brian Gay play well every now and then, and some of the other guys that don't hit it very far. And there's still a piece of pie out there for those guys if you're good enough. If you shoot 67 every day, I don't give a damn how far you hit it. You shoot 67 every day. It's just harder for those guys to do that versus these guys that hitting wedge into every hole. But there's still a little piece of pie out there for those guys. I mean, there's guys that have been making a great living out there, hitting at 270, 275 still to this day. But that's gonna continue to disappear. Those guys are going to continue to disappear because the equipment affords these guys the opportunity to swing a lot harder and a lot faster. And don't forget the technology that comes along with instruction. Instruction is so much better than it used to be. We relied on a set of eyes that we trusted, and they would tell us something, and we would entrust in that person. And thank God I had somebody that I trusted 100%. But it was more kind of dig it out of the dirt. What's the ball doing? What's the divot doing? And we didn't have these numbers spitting back out at us every time we made a golf swing. We kind of had to go, okay, that felt good, and it looked like it went the right distance. And so the precision of the game has gotten so much greater in the last 10 years, it's not even funny. Speaking of power game, I'd love to hear your thoughts on Bryson and that journey of where he's going and how he's playing golf, and just that whole thing from, your seat in the media and covering the PGA Tour. What's sort of your analysis of that?
Well, I always start out by talking about Bryson DeChambeau with saying this. Let's not forget before he beefed up and before he started to go all Lou Ferrigno on us, that he had won 5 times on the PGA Tour. He won the NCAAs and he won the U.S. Amateur. So we're talking about a world-class player to start with, okay? That doesn't go away just because you get big and strong. And I think a lot of people forget about that. They think, oh, here comes this guy out of nowhere who's now going to hit it 350 or 360 in the air and just overpower every golf course. If he hits it straight, he's going to be in contention to win every week. But they forget where he came from and the golf that he's played and everything that he's put into it. So I urge people to remember that before they go off on what Bryson DeChambeau is doing. The other thing is there's nobody on the PGA Tour that's put more into their game than Bryson DeChambeau has over the last 8 months. So now listen, nobody really knows what the end game is here. I don't even really think he knows what the end game is. Is he going to continue to get bigger? He can't grow 6 inches, so there's going to be a point where he gets so big that he can't swing. So there's going to be a max out there, but I don't think he knows where that is, and I don't think anybody else knows where it is. But he has a game plan, and he has a theory that he believes in, and he's going after it 100%. You know why there haven't been a lot of other people that do that? Because people are inherently lazy, and you cannot be lazy if you plan on doing something like Bryson DeChambeau is doing. I applaud him for being different, for doing things his way, and listen, the other thing I'll tell you, for all the roll back the ball squad out there that's saying, hey, this is getting ridiculous, Bryson's going to hit it that much further than everybody else when they do that as well. So, who cares? That's the way. That's kind of how I look at it. But I'm impressed by what he's done. I'm impressed by somebody being able to change their body that quickly and still practice and kind of hone your skills as you're doing it. And he's been able to play really good golf during this whole thing. So I listen. Is he going to make some tens like he did at Muirfield Village for the Memorial Tournament? Yeah, sure. But it's worked pretty well for Phil Mickelson. He's won 40-something times. So I like what he's doing. I applaud him. I think people don't understand how much he's put into it. And basically the guy lives, eats, and breathes and lifts weights and everything because of what he does for a living. And that's the kind of guy that I want to cover.
Do you think that guys are looking at their careers a little different than your generation, where if the body is shot by 40, 38 at that point, like sort of other sports, they're going to be okay with it, where they realize that doing this in their 40s to 50s is just not going to be realistic. So the hell with it. If my back does go out by that point, I just want 15 good years, and we'll see where the chips fall.
Why not? I don't think we're going to see the Phil Mickelsons, the Jack Nicklauses, the Tom Kites, and the Tom Watsons of the world as much as we used to in the future players, because they swing so hard and they put so much stress on their body. I mean, you're going from 125 miles an hour to 0 in a span of a half of a golf swing. So yeah, I do. I do think that these guys now, especially with the money they're making, I mean, they're making life-setting money. They're making 2-3 generations of life-setting money in a 12, 15-year period. And if you can play good golf and make that money for 12 or 15 years, so what? I mean, that's how those guys get in the Hall of Fame, by winning a bunch, and that's what they're trying to do. And they're kind of throwing caution to the wind, I think, in some cases with how fast they're swinging. But that's the nature of the game now, because if you don't do that, you can't keep up with what's going on in the game today. So I don't think we're going to see a lot of 25, 30-year players anymore.
What do you think is going on with Koepka a little bit? Golf's tough, where he kind of has ebbs and flows. Do you think it's still injuries he's dealing with? Do you think it's something else? Or what do you sort of see in his game as we kind of get, near his sweet spot of big championships and majors coming up here on this run?
Yeah, I'm not sure if that knee is 100%, but let's just assume it is. I'm not sure there was a whole lot done during the COVID quarantine down there at the Koepka household. I could be wrong. I don't have any inside information to that. I'm not privy to anything that's going on down there with that. But it looked to me like he took 8 weeks off and didn't do anything. And I believe he thought it was going to be a little bit easier to come back. That could be completely wrong, but I'm not sure if that knee is 100% yet. They talk about, oh, don't worry, we got the WGC this week and we got the PGA Championship the week after, and he's defending at both of them. He'll win one of those and be fine. I'm not really seeing that, to be honest with you. We've seen some upticks in his game before those major championship wins, and I really haven't seen much from Brooks. Listen, you mentioned it. Golf is hard, and Jack Nicklaus went through some streaks. Tiger Woods went through some streaks. All the best players in the world went through some streaks where they didn't play particularly well for who they are and how they normally play. So I'm not really worried about Brooks in that manner. It's just kind of interesting that it's taken this long. Now, listen, he finished 7th down there in South Carolina in Hilton Head. He still didn't play like the Brooks Koepka that we're used to seeing out there on the golf course when he starts playing well. He starts hitting it well and making putts and and then everybody else kind of knows that, hey, they're going to have to play perfect golf to beat him. And we just haven't seen that, and I'm not sure we're going to see it. Listen, he's so far back on the list right now. Last week, if he would have finished sixth alone and nobody else moved on the FedEx Cup list, he would have only moved up to 119th, and that's without anybody else accruing any points. So not only is he going to have to play really well 1 week, he's going to have to play really well 2 weeks to get into the playoffs. So this is his time, right? He's defending champ, like as I mentioned, in the next 2 events. He's got a couple more events after that to try and get into the playoffs, but I think he's in trouble.
DJ, same thing. There's got to be something injured going on there, right? I mean, you can't win, then just, look like a 3 handicap out there.
Well, and the funny thing was the wind kind of came out of left field because he wasn't playing well before that either. So the wind kind of came out of left field a little bit. I don't know what happened that week or what's happening since, but you would think a guy that's won as many times as he has on tour, who's been number one in the world 80, 80, 78, and then a withdrawal is something weird. So I wouldn't be surprised if there was something going on.
WGC event in Memphis. Do you think the whole WGC concept has lived up to what the PGA Tour wants it to be? And from covering it, do you see a different kind of buzz when one of these events are happening, or how do you think it's gone over for where they wanted that to be marketed as, and sort of importance on the PGA Tour schedule? And how much do you enjoy watching them, let's say, versus a regular tour event?
To me, they're the same. Obviously, you're going to have a better field, right? And a lot of them, they don't have cuts. And then, of course, they've got the match play. The match play is fun to watch. But watching Mexico City, to me, isn't any different than any other tournament. I think in the long run, if you were assessing this from the very beginning, if you were a part of it from the very beginning, I would have a hard time agreeing with somebody that said it's been a massive success. I just don't. And this could be just me personally, but I'm just not sure that these World Golf events are great for the PGA Tour in terms of, if you get into that top 50 and you don't get injured, it's really hard to play out of it. I mean, you can. We've seen people do it, but, man, you're playing in 4 or 5 of these free FedEx Cup points events and these free money events. And to me, it's like, everybody puts these tournaments in chronological order, right? You got the major championships, you got the players championships, and then everybody goes directly to the World Golf Championships. I don't even come close to putting it there. I think the playoff events have a bigger and better feel to it. I think that some of the invitationals have as equal of a feel to it. So, I'm putting them about equal with, the invitationals like Jack's tournament and the Arnold Palmer Invitational and stuff like that. To me, like, I'm excited to see what's going to happen this week, but I'm not super fired up because it's a WGC.
You got a sleeper pick for us that, the obvious are the obvious, but is there somebody on your radar a little bit that you're like, it's going to be 100 degrees, it's going to be hot, it's going to be tough on these guys, I like what this guy's game is trending? Is there anyone that we should be kind of watching that might be coming, from the back of the pack a little bit as we kind of look at the stars of the tour?
Man, I'm so bad at this. I am so bad at this. I mean, sometimes I have an inkling. If I were going to tell somebody like how to look for somebody to pick, I would go look at how they've done at this course, because it is a tough golf course. It's got different grasses than the guys are normally playing on. It's got the Zoysia fairways, but they only play that 3 or 4 times a year. It's got Champions greens. It's a very, very difficult golf course depending on the weather. Now, it looks like they're going to be getting some rain, and it's going to be semi-soft out there, which is a shame, because when that golf course is firm, it is really, really difficult. If you're going to put me on the spot, I'm going to go with Daniel Berger. He's won the tournament twice before. It was the WGC, and he obviously plays well there. He won earlier this year. He's been on a pretty nice heater so far in 2020. So, Daniel Berger.
Good choice. Yeah, he is trending well. I've played that golf course a couple times, and being somebody who's on bent grass, you want to talk about confused green reading. Oh man, that's I need to spend more time in the South on that one. Like it's a good golf course, but like I was just deplorable trying to read speed of the different grain. You know how much the grain can affect those putts on that golf course.
And all of us that grew up on Bermuda grass, the grain always grew towards the setting sun. It would grow uphill, and with these new strands, the thatch is so tight, and the root structure and everything is so tight that all the grain runs downhill, and they've got a lot of ridges out there at that golf course. And if you get yourself out of position with your approach shots, you're going to have 30 and 40 footers where the first maybe 3/4 of the putt is into the green and uphill. And then when it crests the hill, it's straight down green and straight downhill. So those putts are really difficult. And I think that's one of the problems that Champions presents.
And good par threes out there too. That's
really
good. Real good par threes,
right? If by good you mean almost impossible, yes, really good.
Well, tough. It's tough.
Yeah,
The par threes are you gotta golf your ball in those par threes. Like there's not one sort of breather par three out there.
I've laid up on 15 as many times as I've tried to hit that green, and that's the honest to God's truth. And that's coming from a guy that was right around 100th in the world when I was playing, some of my better golf. I just laid up on that hole, dude. It's just that the hole is so hard.
It's a good golf course. It's a very good golf course. Major coming up, Harding Park. Have you ever played out there before?
I haven't. I've started to do some homework and some prep work for our for SiriusXM's coverage of it. We've got the coverage along with Westwood One, and it's going to be a very interesting broadcast. We're going to have people all over the country. We're only going to have 2 people on site that are going to be contributing to the broadcast. We've got a full studio that's being built out here in Orlando for most of the guys that can drive from the Southeast. We've got McGinnis is going to be at home. We've got Fred Albers is going to be in New Mexico. So it's going to be really interesting, but it's going to be a lot of fun to try and pull this off. So I've been trying to learn a little bit more about the golf course because I have not played it, unfortunately. But from all accounts, it's a really good golf course that lost its way and has been infused with a remodel and a redo and a lot of money, and now starting to have bigger events there. Remember, they had the President's Cup there, and that was the first real tournament that brought that golf course back to the prestige that it used to have. They used to have a PGA Tour event way back in I believe it was the 60s. But I don't know a whole lot about the golf course right now, unfortunately.
How strange is it going to be to have a major championship without fans? Excuse me. And how will that affect the players, right? Like that's part of that buzz on the back nine of a Sunday at a major, right? I mean, you've played in major championships. I mean, how do you think it's going to affect potentially the players or the tournament or the vibe of it? And, and will it still have that? I mean, you've played in regular tour events and you've played in majors. I have to imagine there's a different buzz when you step to that first tee in a major championship. And will that not be there without the fans all around?
Definitely a different vibe. I think, though, that everybody has kind of embraced the no fans, okay? Because it is what it is. I hate that saying, but it's so true in this context of playing a major championship without fans. Here's the good news. All of these PGA Tour players that are playing in this major championship next week have played 4 or 5 tournaments without any fans. The European Tour players maybe a little bit less, but everybody's done it now, so they kind of know what to expect. But I was saying the same thing in the playoff between JT and Morikawa at Muirfield. I believe it was the workday, right? Yeah, it was the workday. It was the one before the Memorial. I'm not so sure that Colin Morikawa would have made that putt from 24 feet. He may have, but I think it would have been a lot harder waiting 2 or 3 minutes for the crowd to settle down. I think Justin's reaction would have been much more excitable, even though he screamed as loud as he could. But he wouldn't have hit that putt when he hit it if we had fans there. Those would have been 2 of the loudest roars of the year, and we missed that. But I think everybody would rather have golf to watch under these circumstances than worry too much about bitching and complaining about not having fans. A little
agree.
bit of golf is better than nothing, I guess.
And it's still going to be for the players, it's still going to be a major. It's still going to be fun to watch on TV or
Sure.
however you get your media anywhere. It's still going to be a guy playing for the Wanamaker, right? Like it's huge.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I'm looking forward to getting some majors back in the golf rotation, right? I missed it. But it's going to be interesting to watch, though. Like, what's it look like?
I think the big question is going to be if they've canceled fans through the rest of the season. Now we've had tournaments in the fall for the 2021 season that have already said that they're not going to have fans. This is where it gets a little strange to me. Would they play the Masters tournament at Augusta National without fans? And if they did, I think that would be a bit eerie.
But don't you think they would? I mean, when do they have to make that call? Do they have a hard line yet of when they're going to say they're going to let patrons in or not?
I'm not privy to that information. I'm assuming that they don't have their build out. Although it's the Masters and it's the greatest tournament and everybody wants to win it, that build out for the fans, it's everything that's there. I mean, it's like the concession stands and everything. They're hard buildings. They're not putting those up and taking them down every day. So either they're going to be open and filled up with high school and college kids selling sandwiches and cheap beers, or they're just going to be, shut down and locked up. So I don't think it's as big a deal for Augusta National as it is for some of these other golf courses that have to build something out and they've got to start doing it 12 weeks in advance, and it takes all this time to put all this stuff up. So they might be able to push that decision a little bit more than most.
I was going to talk to you about your playing career. You had one hell of a season on the which was Nike Tour back then, but Corn Ferry Tour. 2 wins, Player of the Year. What came together for you that season to kind of have that level of consistency and and play that well for the entire season and get your PGA Tour card? And kind of looking back, what did you do really well in your that season to kind of get to where you got?
Well, let me take a step back before I get to 1999. I got on tour right out of college in 1995, and I played 2 years on the PGA Tour and had no idea what I was doing. Did I have the physical abilities to shoot 62? Yeah, sure. I did it my rookie season one time. I did it at Disney. But I really didn't know how to play golf. And when I went back to then the Nike Tour, I think I finished like 40th my first year, but learned a lot and was humbled by the fact that I wasn't playing on the PGA Tour anymore. And now I'm a full-time Nike Tour player. And for me to get off this tour, I'm going to have to finish in the top 15. So I was so much more streaky when I first got to the Nike Tour, now Corn Ferry Tour. And I knew that it was going to take a lot of mental preparation and a lot of mental work to try and figure out how to play better more often. I finished like 22nd the second year that I played on that Nike Tour. And that off season, I just decided to work really hard. There's a lot of times in the off season I would take some time off and get away. I decided to work really hard and make a real good run at getting into that top 15 because I was so close, just only missing out by 7 spots the year before. But I got a handwritten letter from my mother over that Christmas break, and although it had a lot of support and love in it, it had some, hey, you need to learn how to win and you need to start winning and you need to get over yourself and you need to do whatever you need to do to win. Like just a perfect amount of kick you in the ass and a perfect amount of let me give you a hug now. And I took that letter to heart. And when I got out there in 99, I was ready to rock. I think I missed the first couple of cuts, but at once I started getting on a roll, I was every single week I was finishing in the top 10. I think I had 8 or 10 top 10 finishes, whatever it was, and I was in contention for 3 or 4 times before I finally won out in Utah. And after the last time that I was in contention, Jerry Foltz was interviewing me, and he was saying, "What's it going to take for you to win?" And I was so mad I got emotional in this interview, and I was so mad. And I think I even told Jerry, I said, Jerry, if the next time I get in contention and I don't win, I think I'm going to quit. I mean, this is how angry I was that I hadn't won a tournament. And came out the next time I got in contention was just a few weeks later and won by 6, and then took a week off and then came back and won by 5. And so I had my run. I was playing good enough golf to do that, but just hadn't put everything together. And that kind of put me over the hump. They were sort of late wins in the season. I won in Boise and I won in Utah, and they were in the September area. So although it was nice and I was comfortably in that top 15 for most of that, that summer, or I was right around it, I knew that once I won that tournament, I was going to be back on the PGA Tour. It freed me up a little bit, to take a week off and then come back and play so well. I didn't touch a club the whole time, the entire time that I took that week off. In fact, that week that I took off, I had played 78 consecutive Nike Tour events that were available to play in. Now, they weren't 78 consecutive weeks, but I did not skip a tournament for 2 3/4 season because I just felt like I wasn't afforded that luxury because I wasn't high enough on any money lists or any points lists or whatever they had. And so when I won that tournament, I knew I was in and I could breathe a little bit. And I finally took a week off, didn't touch a club, and then came back and won again in Boise. And so it was a fun run. There's no question about it. And then, I learned so much playing the Korn Ferry Tour. It's not even funny. I wouldn't have had nearly the success when I got back to the PGA Tour that I had without going back down there for 3 years and really learning how to play golf.
Looking back at your PGA Tour career, what's just like the 2 or 3 coolest things now that you can kind of look back and appreciate and be like, that was pretty damn awesome?
Oh, man. Look, golf has afforded me so much, right? It got me an education in college. I got to not have a real job, basically. Since I've gotten out of college, I've played golf, and then I've talked about it. I don't consider either one of those real jobs. I'm just doing something that I like, and I happen to get paid for it. And the people that I've met probably tops everything. I mean, the people that I still keep in touch with, the people that, that every time I see once or twice a year at major championships or whatever it might be, it's almost like we played together last week at an event. And just, I would say the people that I've met is really the coolest part about the job.
Best player you ever played with where you're just like the talent blew you away of just, I knew the guy was good, but seeing it up close and, playing against him as a competitor, holy shit, can that guy play?
I was a rookie, and I got a phone call on Wednesday afternoon that somebody had withdrawn from the Canadian Open, and I got in. And so I got on a plane, and they can't redo the tee times when somebody withdraws. And it was somebody that was in the B category, which is the winners. And so I got the call. So I fly up, and I'm playing with Davis Love, and I don't even know who the other guy what we were playing with was. That's how impressed I was with Davis Love. I remember we got on I think it's the 6th hole. It's a par 3. It's got a couple tiers in it. It was about a 210-yard hole. It was into the wind. And Davis Love takes his ball and drops it from about waist high onto the tee, rolls it over with his 3-iron, and hits this 3-iron that went to the moon, that didn't move left or right, and landed a foot from the hole and stopped. And I remember saying to myself, when I need to go home and get better because I can't beat this guy. And that really motivated me. Some of the players that I've seen play in my day, Phil Mickelson and David Duval and Tiger Woods and BJ Singh, all very, very impressive players. But that 2 days that I spent watching Davis Love play really changed how I looked at the rest of my career.
After you were done playing and the injuries and all that stuff, how did the media side come about, and how was your sort of journey into what you're doing now, and what was sort of the first steps, and obviously you enjoy it, you're good at it, and how did you sort of get involved on that side of the coin?
So I did a couple of the play-by-plays for the PGA Tour, and that's run by PGA Tour Entertainment. It was nothing steady. It was just kind of filling in here and there, and I enjoyed that. I had a small little advertising company where we would go put in these big $30,000 scoreboards at local golf courses and then sell advertising that went around the outside, and then they could use it as a scoreboard. It was a pretty cool little project, but I hated it. I mean, literally hated it. The work, the driving around asking people for money. I couldn't stand it. So the president of on-air talent at SiriusXM, Scott Greenstein, was on a trip, and he was listening to our channel and was listening to the play-by-play, and he said, man, I need to listen to this channel more. This is really good. And noticed that there were a lot of replays on air. Right about that time, John McGinnis, who has had a show for, I don't know, probably 5 or 6 years at this time, kept telling me, dude, you got to find somebody to do a show with. You'd be great at it. You'll love it. It'll be fun. That'll fill up some time on the channel. And Dennis Paulson, who I do the show with, was doing a lot of the play-by-play. And I called him up and I said, well, this is kind of interesting, right? Two guys with the same last name that aren't related, that both played on the PGA Tour at the same time, doing a radio show together to talk about all the stuff that we've been through, the stuff that we learned, and the stuff that we know. I thought, man, that might be a good idea. So we pitched it to them, and they liked the idea and gave us some practice shows. You know, we did about, I don't know, 8 or 10 two-hour practice shows, and then they gave us a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday time slot from 3 to 5, and people just kind of took to it, and that's kind of how it happened. And then, you know, obviously being with SiriusXM now for 8 years and doing the show for that long, it's afforded me the opportunity to start doing some of the analyst work and some of the hosting work and some of the on-course rover work for SiriusXM when they have rights to the events. And now it's just turned into a really cool family that we work with week in and week out. We see each other through Zoom, but you know, the only time we all get together at one time are during the major championships, and those are the most fun weeks of the year. Not only because we're watching and covering major championships, but because we get to hang out with our team, and it's a hell of a team. It's the hardest working team in golf. There's no question about it. We work longer hours, get paid less, and we all love what we do, and people take to it and they like it, and it's great. So I, again, was fortunate to get on tour right when I got out of college, because there's some people that don't ever get on tour that were as good or better than I was when I was coming out of college. So for me to get out there and get my feet wet and be able to play for 12 or 13 years on tour, and then be able to get back into the game to cover it, I've been very fortunate.
I saw in June, I assume you made the trip. It was on the website. Did you guys make it out to the Prairie Club in Nebraska?
We actually had to cancel because of COVID. Yeah.
Oh, have you been out there yet?
No, we're gonna move it to next year. We can't get it flipped this year because of the new scheduling and everything. But I can't wait to get out there. They've been great with what they offered us to bring 10 or 12 people out there and have a fun little 3 days of playing golf and drinking copious amounts of alcohol and smoking cigars and playing poker. And that's what our trips are all about. We try to do 3 or 4 of them a year. Obviously 2020 has been cursed a little bit, and we're probably only going to get 2 of those in this year, but we're really very much looking forward to getting out there.
It's my favorite area in the United States to go play golf is if you between Dismal River, Prairie Club, and Sand Hills. It's spectacular. It's the area for links golf is just so good. So
I want to go out like a week early and go play all those other courses first.
Oh yeah, I mean you could literally. I mean Sand Hills is my favorite golf course in the world. Architecturally, I think it's brilliant. I spent a lot of time out in Dismal River. It's just great. I mean the area, the total package, right? The hang. The food, the atmosphere, everything. You guys are going to have a great trip out there. So
yeah,
I was wondering if you made that one. I was hoping you did.
We were in that area. We went to Ballyneal for a couple of years. That whole thing, stay on the golf course and putt at night with glow-in-the-dark balls. And, they had dinner set up for us each night out on the veranda. And it's just really cool. So that's why we were thinking They're an all walking at Ballyneal, and we have some guys that kind of were struggling at the end. So we looked for a course that would allow carts if you wanted to take them. And that's kind of how we ended up on the Prairie Club. But I'm bummed that we had to postpone that, and I'm very much looking forward to getting out there.
Yeah, you're gonna absolutely love it. Well, I got a couple others here, and then kind of quick hitters, and then we'll get you out of Dodge. So my first sort of off the cuff one is, now this could be the best or the worst, but the worst Pro-Am story you ever had playing the PGA Tour, which could make absolutely the best story. So is there any classics out there that you're just shaking your head after that one? You go, how the hell did that just happen? And I don't believe that just happened from all the years you're out on tour of doing Pro-Ams.
So we're only going 5 tournaments into my career here, okay? I'm a rookie. I missed the first 5 cuts, and I decide I'm going to go up to Long Island and go water skiing with some friends on Saturday and Sunday before I go up to the Travelers and play. So we're tubing and water skiing and laying out at the beach, and I just needed a couple days off. I'm super frustrated and can't get my game to come around. So I show up on Monday for the Monday Pro-Am at Travelers up there in Connecticut, and I cannot swing past waist high. My arms are just shot. So I asked the rules official, I said, hey, listen, there's no way I can play today. I mean, there's no way I can help this team. Can I just take my wedges and my putter and walk around with them and just give these guys a 4-hour playing lesson? And still to this day, I can't believe they told me I couldn't do that. That would have been the greatest Pro-Am in the world for those guys, right? So,
well, because now you're forced, like, you're going to have to put on a horse and pony show, right? Like, if you can't swing the full swings, which the AMs want to see the pros hit it far, this is going to be world-class short game, school here for these guys.
I'm just the MCing. I'll make fun of them. I'll help them. I'll work on their. It would have been perfect. Right. I think that's actually what they should do. But anyway, so I try to play, and I shoot like 82. And I mean, I'm hooping it everywhere. I probably had 22 putts, and I shot 82. And I'm playing from the back tees. We've got 3 guys that are all from the same company, and then just a single guy who wasn't with the other 3 guys. And he was kind of an asshole all day long, and just didn't really say much. And he was kind of, we would already make a score, and he would be putting out for his 4 or 5, and we've already got a birdie or whatever it is. And so we get done. And I'm like, hey, thanks, I'm thanking everybody. And I'm talking with the 3 guys, and the single guy comes up, and he's got a scorecard filled out with his score on it and my score on it. Mind you, he's played the golf course 600 yards shorter than I have, and I can't swing. And he has my name and all the scores on it, his name and all the scores on it, and he asked me to sign the card.
This is going in the office, right?
One of the guys that I was playing with got so pissed. He was like, listen, asshole, you haven't said a word all day. He already told you the story about why you can't swing, and he still stayed out here with us for 5 hours and spent all this time with us, and you're going to do him like that? And I was just standing there letting this guy berate the other guy, and then he got done, and I just kind of looked at him, and I said, no, I'd rather not sign that. And I mean, I've told so many people that story, and everybody is just shell-shocked that somebody would do that. But a good one, and there's been a million good ones, but Rendezvous Rib House in Memphis was one of the most famous rib places in Memphis, and I played with the owner in a Monday Pro-Am in Memphis, and he sent a limo that night to pick me and like four of my buddies up and drive us down to Rendezvous and skip the entire line and go sit in the family section and eat at this place. I've been friends with the guy ever since. And that's the kind of stuff that I was talking about before too, not just the players, the people that I've met on the road that you see year in and year out at the same event. Some couples who are retired use these tournaments to be volunteers as their vacation, and we'll see them 5 or 6 times a year all around the country. So that's sort of where I was getting at with my answer before, with what's the best thing about the tour. And that really is, I mean, the people that you meet the fans that you make. It's just really cool.
Best 2 or 3 golf courses you've ever had the opportunity to play, not necessarily on tour, but just anywhere where you just, God, I could wake up and play this golf course every day. Architecturally, it's that good.
My favorite golf course in the world, and yes, I have played Augusta National. My favorite golf course in the world is about 45 minutes from Augusta National, and it's Palmetto Golf Club. It's I have never played that golf course and not had the most, like, let's say I played it 50 times. Those 50 times I've played that golf course were in the 75 most fun rounds of golf I've ever had. The architecture, the layout, the piece of land, it's 6,500 yards long, and it'll give you everything that you want. It's tough in spots. It's easy in spots. And it's just, by the way, beers are $1.50. Canned beer is $1.50. And they have hot dogs and chicken salad and tuna salad sandwiches. That's all you can get. And candy bars and stuff like that. So every time we go, we cooler up and everybody gets a 12er and rock and roll. But get there early, play 36. And I've been really fortunate there, too, because it's a private club. And
Right.
Brooks Blackburn is the pro there. He's been awfully generous. And there have been a couple times when we had, listener events where we were playing down there in that area where we got rained out where we were, and they let us come over and play. So, again, being fortunate, I know sounds like it's a theme of this podcast that we're doing here, but I have been, and I think it's important to recognize that.
Last one I got for you. Best golf shot you ever hit under pressure?
Well, the best golf shot I've ever hit wasn't under pressure. So,
all right, let's hear that one.
You
what's
want
the,
that
what's
one?
The best golf shot? Yeah, we'll take that one. Best one you ever hit.
So I'm playing down at the Honda. I think it was Eagle Trace. I can't remember. They switched courses so many times when I was playing. Like 4 or 5 times they switched golf courses down there. Finally settling on PGA National, and now they have a great tournament and a great event. But the 18th hole is a par 5 and had water all down the right-hand side. You drive it up there, and then you either lay up, over to the left, and it's kind of a narrow layup. And I hit the ball, and then the green is kind of peninsulaed with water. It's all around the right and all around the front, and all bulkheaded. And I shoot 80 the first day, and I've never finished last in the tournament. And I'm like, I'm not finishing last in this tournament. I went out and hit balls all afternoon and got ready for the next day, and I'm not giving up, man. I'm going to go out there and play my ass off so I don't finish last. And I'm playing pretty well. I think I'm like 1 or 2 under coming into 18th hole. It's my 9th hole of the day. And so I've got it kind of going. I hit it in the left rough, and then I tried to squeeze it up there a little bit too far on my layup, and I hit it in a fairway bunker. And it's got about a 2-foot lip on it. I'm probably about 8 feet from that lip. I've got 135 yards, and the wind's blowing out of the left and into me about 40 miles an hour. And the flag stick is way over on the front right of the green where you can hit it in the water right and hit it in the water short. And I'm like, gosh, got a good round going. My caddy's like, dude, we got nothing. Just hit it over here and hit it on the green. Let's get on with it. And I was like, no, I'm seeing something here. It was on a little bit of an upslope. And I was like, give me the 5-iron. He said, what? I said, give me the 5-iron. And I moved about 300 people on the left there where the ropes kind of came out just in case I didn't pull the shot off. And I've got this face wide open. It's 30 degrees open. And I've got 135 yards, got the wind 40 miles an hour quartering into and out of the left. And I hit this shot that started 70 yards left of the green and hit this giant high slice. And when it got to the green, like where the green started, it was still left of the green, but the wind, you had caught this ball and it was actually moving to the right and might even have been moving backwards. And it lands on the back left of the green and runs like 50 feet all the way down to the hole to about 8 feet. Now, the story would be a storybook ending if I told you I made that putt and made birdie, but I gagged it and missed it.
Wait, I thought you were going to make the eagle, then making the cut right after the 80, right? I thought that's where this was going.
Sometimes you play for different things.
Well, hell of a golf shot, though. I don't think I have that one in my arsenal. To hit a 5-iron out of a bunker in the 40. I think I'm laying that one up with my skill set. I'm just going to, try to make, my 5 the hard way, I think.
I'll be honest with you. I'd still be out there all day trying to pull that shot off.
Well, I certainly appreciate it. I was looking forward to this conversation. So thanks for coming on with us. We'll be listening to the show. And, keep up the good work. It's going to be a fun time of year here, starting off with some big boy tournaments coming through. So looking forward to it, and great talking to you. I really appreciate your time today, Pro.
I appreciate it as well, Jason, and I just wanted to let you know that I'm appreciative of you and Sub 70 for sending some gear, and I'm very much looking forward to trying it out and getting back to you.
Yeah, give us a field report when you get out there and play with it a little bit. Looking forward to it. But I really appreciate it.
All right, partner.